if you don't mind, start off, just introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay.
And tell us where we are. And
My name is Jack Kelleher, and we're in the Clonakilty Bike Circus, our community tool sharing organization.
And what's the typical sort of thing that goes on here in a day?
Our basic diet is our membership of about 150 people come in here to repair their own bikes using our tools. And the idea is that when they reach a point where they don't know how to do a particular task, we step in and teach them. So that's the heart of the bike circus is teaching people to fix their own bikes, empowering them to fix their own bikes. We also are the service yard for the Clonakilty Hire Bike Scheme. So we have a fleet of about 40 bikes that we are responsible for maintaining and keeping safe and roadworthy and fun to ride. And we're also as part of that, we're the repair shack for Clonakilty's Cycling Without Age chapter. We have a trishaw we call a Silver Bullet. And all of these are nonprofit, all volunteer activities. My current favorite activity is our apprenticeship program, where with the apprentices' help, we maintain the bikes and fix bikes that come in. But the apprentice, after doing an established curriculum in 100 hours, then is qualified bike mechanic. So it's a structured program to pass on the skills of bike mechanics. And we have 3 bike mechanics who are here to do that a lot of the time. I'm one. Graham Gilly, who's with me today, is another. Jane O'Brien, who stopped in today, is the third, who's usually here. And then we have others visiting. And so it's kind of a community, an all-volunteer community built around bicycling and families. We kind of specialize in family cycling. Now, this organization, the Bike Circus, is an umbrella organization, but it was born out of the Clonakilty Bike Festival, which was started by Justin Roberts, Allison Roberts, Justin Grounds, and me 9 years ago now. And as part of the Bike Festival, we started offering a free bike clinic, a safety clinic for the bikes, and it grew and it kept growing, and then the bike rental scheme was added and became kind of full-time now. During the spring and summer, we're open 5 days a week. We've just shifted this week over to winter hours, which is 4 days a week from 10 to 3. And we still have plenty to do. Although we're all volunteer and not-for-profit, we do get donations, and the donations help us keep the lights on and pay the insurance. When I was working before I retired, which was 10 years ago, I had this dream that I would open a bike shop and it'd be available for children. I wanted to have a place where kids could socialize and work on wheeled vehicles and be out of trouble. I lived in upstate New York, and the poor kids in particular don't have any place to go in the winter. It's too cold to be outside, and inside is often not a very pleasant place. So I thought I'd build this bike shop, and kids could come work on their bikes and maybe do their homework there, and I would help them with their homework. And that was kind of my daydream. I ended up in Clonakilty, but I still wanted to shop, and I've been looking for a premises to open a shop like this ever since I got here. And through very good fortune, someone put me together with Colette Toomey from Clonakilty Black Pudding, and Anthony O'Donovan from the shelters, O'Donovan's, I forget, master cabin. I look around behind me, and their generosity has made this physical place possible. The membership is to join the organization is €20 a year, and that pays our liability insurance. And our members then and others are free to donate when they can, and they do. And so that's kept enough money coming in that we can buy parts and keep working away. And it is, I'm happy to say, just a community of kindness. Everybody here is volunteer. Everybody's here because they want to be here. We have members who are very young, and we have members who are pretty old. And we have members from all over town, and we have people who come in here who aren't bicycle people at all, but just want to talk and have a cup of coffee. And we welcome them too. So it's just a fun place for people to hang out.
It sounds like a lot of local connections and families connected, and people call in for chats and cups of tea, and I can really see the local benefit of that. And I'm wondering if you have thoughts around the more global benefit of people actually being motivated and excited and enabled to use bikes in terms of sustainability and how biking contributes to alternative transport.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't approach bicycling as anything but fun. I mean, for me, it wasn't. There was no ideology behind my coming to bicycling. I got into bicycling because maybe I should thank my mother. My mother was a child of the Great Depression, and she couldn't stand to see a boy sitting still doing nothing. And so if I sat still, she'd find a task for me. But somehow bicycling was okay, and so getting on a bicycle meant that I was free. I could get out and do what I wanted to do, be a kid. And so the first time I got on a bike and discovered I could just tell my mother where I was going and that when I'd be back, I was free. And to me, a bicycle is freedom, and it's just that simple. But over the years, as I've worked on bikes and talked to other people, most of them feel the same way. They feel freed by getting on a bike. But it also is just a nifty way to get around the world. You can, if you get on a bicycle and you have a minimum amount of skill about how to maintain and repair that bike, with your own energy and the food you eat, you can go from here to anywhere. And almost everybody who comes here has done some of that. I've done some of it with my children. I had a tandem, and my son and my daughter had her own bike. We rode all around Ireland, just traveling, just to see Ireland. And it didn't cost us any more than it cost us to be somewhere else and eating and living, only we were out on the road. And they're grown people now, but they still remember that time. And I still remember that time. It's just precious. And
what I've experienced with biking with my kids is how much they notice their surroundings in a different way than sitting in the car where they're behind glass. You know, they feel the wind, they notice the butterflies in the hedge, they comment on the colour of things around. It's just a beautiful way to be with children.
Oh, yeah, I'm like an old fool. I call out to the cows and horses as I go by them, and some of them recognize me. You know, the cows look up, but the horses nicker when I go by. And it's great. It's great fun. It's still. Bicycling puts you right in the environment, and you're moving at a speed that's just perfect for taking in what's around you while still being perfectly safe going down the road. And I love that. I'm just I catch myself every time I'm out on the bike. I'll catch myself just breathless, my breath's taken away, breathless with just excitement at how pretty it is. And I'm fortunate that where I live between here and there is a lot of the wetland around Clonakilty. I ride right across the causeways and around. And so I see these migratory birds, and they've got all their talk. They're gabbling with each other and bird gabble going on, and feeding and enjoying the environment. And you just go out with them, and it's much better entertainment than anything else around. And
just like I was asking the question about, sustainability, and you were saying you just do it actually for fun. And when you're having fun, it's positive for your well-being. And I find it interesting that lots of things that are actually good for the environment and good for the planet are actually good for us as well.
They are. It's kind of guilt-free fun. I am day in, day out the happiest I've ever been, and I've always been a cyclist, and always been happy cycling. But I can't imagine people who, when you say, "Well, tell me the last time you were happy," and they think they have to think about that. The last time I was happy was right now, just working here with bikes with people, and it's just fun. We've got a friend of mine's visiting.
Stay a while.
Sure. Will you stay? He wants to know where the food is. I put out food for him. Well, yes, I know. It's that time. The crows know we normally get out of here about 3 o'clock.
Right.
And they're very bold and very tame. This one may be the one that was talking to us yesterday. And it was just an endless line of crow talk.
Have you any other thoughts about other ways that biking affects well-being?
Well, biking is so integral to how things could be better. I mean, things are good. The Irish don't know how good they have it. This is a lovely place to live. But bikes, as part of the day-to-day infrastructure of the big cities, have the potential for changing them for the better almost overnight. Because as soon as people ride bikes, the pollution is down. The noise pollution, which I'm particularly sensitive to, goes down. So you don't have all this noise and stink that the cars make, and all the danger. I mean, if here in Clonakilty, if they pedestrianized our main street, it would be so much nicer place to be. And the cargo bikes have the potential for changing how businesses are supplied. And they can do a wonderful job leaving all those big lorries that clog up the streets outside the town and on the periphery around the town, unloading onto cargo bikes. And I'm excited about that as a way to change our world for the better, actually make big changes very quickly. But mainly the way that bikes change our world is that they change individuals, they change people's thinking and how they relate to the world around them. And this lockdown we've been in for the last several months has been, I'm sorry to say, kind of fun, because I've seen how people are relating to their children, and they're actually noticing their kids and going cycling with them and getting out, and that's wonderful to see. I'm getting it in here. You know, people come in, families with children come in here, and I love children. I love families, and to see them doing things together. A project of, parent-child project working on a bicycle. We've got several of them going here now. The parents are coming in with their children and together working on something. And modern society doesn't make a lot of room for that, and it should. It really, really should.
It's a great way to connect by by learning together.
And the kids also play with each other more when in that circumstance. So you see the kids happily working together, and they're not in little age cohorts and all locked into little boxes. They're able to express themselves, and a bike is a good way to get started on all of that.
I like the example you gave of the potential of the cargo bikes being able to replace the need for trucks and transport in main streets. Have you any other ideas about the transformative potential of bikes for our lifestyles?
Well, if bikes, I remember when school bike racks were full. Now, I think children should be off on their bikes and not in school, but if they must be in school, then the bicycle should be the way they get there, not private cars and not buses, but bicycles. They're at least free going and coming. Bicycles as ways to do your grocery shopping. I'm frustrated today because I've injured my knee, and I can't be out shopping with my bike because it's so much easier. You go grocery shopping with a car. You've got to park the car. You've got to worry about running over somebody. There's always people around you, and you're afraid you're going to hit them, or you'll back into somebody else's car. There's a whole litany of tensions that are built in when you're driving. And a bicycle, you just fly. You're just like a fish in the ocean or bird in the air. Just come in, and that just grocery shopping is a different transaction if you're doing it from a bike, and visiting friends is a different thing. It's not all a carry-on. You don't have to strap on a car and all this stuff and turn all the dials and just jump on a bike. And although I'm an advocate for electric bikes and have one, and the e-bikes and pedelectrics and all that, I still think the greatest bike in the world is just a simple, good old bike. Just two wheels and a chain and brakes. And that's it. That's your whole life right there. You can go anywhere you want, do anything you want, and you bother nothing. You leave nothing but footprints, and that's.
The course that I'm working on, Creatively and Change, so we've started using our bikes to be out and about, and we're trying to explore a little bit what happens when you cycle together. What's the impact on the group of people who cycle together? So you've mentioned enjoying seeing families out cycling together.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done lots of cycling with other people, and this being in the workshop is a very collaborative process. But have you any thoughts about what's happened when you've been cycling with other people? What happens in your mind, and what happens in terms of your sense of connection to the people you cycle with?
Oh, a lot of the people who are part of the bike circus, we run group trips, at least one a month, all through the cycling months. And potluck suppers and other things, other social events. And cycling with them is lots of fun because you see them and their children, and they're interrelating with everybody else. And that's particularly joyful for me because I meet people who are a generation and 2 generations younger than me. And I really have friends who are, still in school, but they're my friends. They're because I met them through the kinds of things we do here, and that's just it's wonderful social access for me. I mean, I'm single. I'm 78 years old. I live by myself in a cottage by the sea. I could be a total monk. And part of me sometimes is a total monk, to be very honest. Sometimes I'm very happy just to read and write and meditate. But there's a huge need. Every human being has a huge social need. And being able to connect in with the people here is wonderful for me. I have really an extended family that's very large. And I'm... Something older people often complain about is feeling irrelevant. And I don't feel irrelevant. I feel like I'm a contributor to to the society I live in. I'm helping to make it a better place, and by doing that, I feel good. It's a tremendous thing.
Yeah, it's lovely, and it's something a nice example for other people who consider themselves older as well. That there's so much can be contributed and so much
You could.
years of experience.
Yeah. And we have some older people who come around here, and some of them relate, and some of them just sort of sit and watch. But it's fun too.
Yeah. You've given nice examples of the difference it makes shopping and navigating around towns and cities, about the transport of goods in cities. Any other thoughts of any other big contributions cycling can make to changing how we live?
Yeah. Well, I have a book in mind about, and what it's, the burden of the book would be that cycling is a great way for families to learn about the culture they live in. That if you took a bike ride from, say, Kinsale to Glengariff with your children, going 10 or 15 miles a day, camping, staying in B&Bs, whatever is comfortable for you, there are so many places you could stop and see. There are these grand manors that people once actually lived in and supported, and they're open to the public now. These and gardens, and there are derelict churches and chapels. There are forts, military forts, and things. There's huge chunks of history and civilization in Ireland right here. I think it'd be just a wonderful. I tried to do that with my children years ago, but I think even more so now. There's more open and available, and if you just stopped and walked along the beach and looked at the things that wash up, but the next day you could be at Bantry House or down at Castle. I want to say Castletown Bear, and that's not it. But there's Castletown's End. There's a manor there, and there's a whole history of fairies in that neighborhood, and you could go there with your kids, and just every day you could have 2 or 3 places you could go. I think families, parents and their children, if they just took off and did that for a day, a week together, would know more about each other. But there's also just so much culture and history that they could just enjoy that's right here. If they just pause, it's about the speed that the bicycle works at. Yeah. And you can just slow down and take a look around you, and look at the parks and gardens and manor houses and museums, and talk with the children about the things that happened there. There's a lot of Irish history happened right here in West Cork, and they can talk about that. There's something for all of them. Yeah.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. It's
You're very welcome.
Capture some of your stories and some of your insights.
Get me going.
I hope that bird's going to come visit again.
Oh, not to worry. She's I think a matriarch of a whole bunch of them.